Hello and welcome to Robotic. Now today's video, I'm not sure where this idea came from. I have this vague memory of this polar orbiting robotic science platform. If anybody can figure out what on earth I'm thinking about, please post in the comments. I was unable to find any information about this, so I just made up a design completely. But going off of that, I'm launching a space shuttle into a polar orbit to deploy this unmanned space station. Now by that I mean it's a uncrewed craft that hosts a wide variety of scientific experiments. It's meant to stay on orbit for a significant amount of time, and can be serviced by later missions. And so this initial launch is going very well. You've seen the solid rocket booster dress in. Also for this entire flight I had it, for the ascent I've had flown by a mech jab, because flying space shuttles is way too difficult, and this is the only time I'll allow myself to use a mech jab. And so we're almost done with launch. We've reached orbit, and now we can shut down the space shuttle main engines and dress in the external tank. And now a few small RCS maneuvers will maneuver us away. And we can start to deploy the payload bay, and you can get a first look at the payload. Now, it might be a bit hard to see from this angle, and I'll talk more about it when it's actually being deployed. But the part on top of the payload is a solar panel array. And now the payload's off screen, so that doesn't matter right now. Currently just getting an IVA shot of the external tank. And that camera switch you saw there, that was us going over the North Pole, because the camera in Kerbal Space Program does not know what to do when you go over the pole of a celestial body. So I wanted this craft to be placed into a 150 kilometer by 150 kilometer orbit. So currently raising my apoapsis, and I'm warping around to complete the human transfer. Now I kept saying that we were crossing the Van Allen belts, which so using the readouts given by Kerbalism, my orbit should have been below the Van Allen belts, and due to the way the radiation belts interact with the poles, I don't know much about it and it looks complicated. But just based on the data from Kerbalism, we should have been fine, and I didn't notice any increase in career radiation for any of the crew. So anyways, we have reached our target orbit. So now we can do we can do the payload deployment. And yes, I'm using the Canadarm for this. Which it actually isn't as bad as you think. So robotic parts in Kerbal Space Program have a reputation for being buggy. And yes, there were some bugs during this, but it was manageable. I say that as, basically I had to detach some struts to get to deploy. And when I did, it had some interesting effects and faced the shuttle various times. But now it's safely deployed. We can extend that solar panel array, and then actually deploy the individual solar panels. Just wait a bit. And so yeah, this thing it relies heavily on robotics. Not only does that a solar panel array fold out, and also the main core of the aircraft also folds out, which you should see pretty soon. As I descend the Kerbal on EVA, you can see some of these smaller details. So yeah, batteries, the cal controller for deployment, propellant RCS, all that stuff, the probe core is clipped into that structural piece. The structural piece has plenty of space on the inside of it to fit the probe core, so I'm fine with that part clipping. And you saw the station being undocked from the arm, which you may have noticed had bugged out a bit there. But we can unfold the main focus of the space station, the actual exposed science experiments. Tons of stock Tantares and Bluedog Design Bureau parts. Just a bunch of stuff which it might not make sense to include on this, but looked cool. And so yeah, you can see all that deploying. Some stuff accidentally clipped into the solar panels. And with that, the mission is done. The Robotic Space Station can continue on in orbit doing its science, and a future mission could visit it. And so it's time for this shuttle to return. I never mentioned it, but this was a spatial discovery chosen completely at random. You saw the orbit burn there. I had to do a significant inclination change, as I wasn't aiming for a Kerbal Space Center. I was aiming for whatever runway was below my orbit. And I tried going for V Tereshkova, added with JNSQ. And for some reason my shuttle would not pitch up, so I significantly overshot. So we're instead aiming for this random piece of desert. As I was saying, I had to do a substantial inclination change. I tried to do some yaw during the descent, during the re-entry. But yeah, that didn't go well. And this landing, we lost one of the landing gear. Now, so with the spatial, the landing gear was expendable. It had to be replaced after every flight. So it isn't much of a loss to lose that landing gear. And so, yeah. I'd say craft mostly survived, which is pretty good by Kerbal standards. And our Robotic Space Station hit successfully on orbit. So I'd say that was pretty successful. I want to thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe, and goodbye!